The Nike Hoop Summit is this weekend.
That it is.
I have tickets. Me and
Our
my family are
own
going.
Danny Meringue is there, live on the scene.
Well, it's not played till Saturday.
Oh, okay. Well, I think he's been there all week. What are they doing
He's
all
there
week?
at practices.
Okay.
Sitting next to Danny Ainge.
What's up, Danny and Danny?
Danny.
Well,
Danny.
the scene.
You want to start a
biggest
podcast? We'll call it
scene-
Danny and Danny.
No, I will say this.
Why was he here yesterday? I was confused because I thought he was out for the Hoop Summit, and then he was here yesterday.
I don't know.
And then I was told he's out tomorrow.
Today, you mean?
Today, yeah, thank you.
The biggest scene
Hoop Summit
is
schedule's
when the USA team has its scrimmage. It's usually
It's today.
it's this evening or this afternoon because all the NBA, it's one of the few times they can get a look at all these guys.
The international and local
the international
kids, yeah.
guys, all that sort of stuff. So when the teams have like their final scrimmage,
Yep.
and yeah, everybody is in there. It was funny one year because there were like 3 former Blazer GMs all there at like
Hanging out, watching
hanging
it.
out. Like we had the Cho Chop and we
The
had
Cho Chop.
I forget who was there right before Neil.
Buchanan.
Yeah, it was just and they've got it all. They've got 2 sets of chairs all ringed around the main practice court at the practice facility. And then you've got all the big time NBA draft, people there from ESPN and whatever. So Pelton's there.
Yeah.
And
It's one of
it's
the more
quite a
underrated
scene.
big events that we host every year
Yeah.
on the Nike campus is having that event because everybody who's everybody in the NBA is in town watching AJ DeBanza right now.
The future, who says, I'm not getting $7 million to go to BYU. It's fake news, man.
Well, the funny thing about that is like, oh, what'd you get, 6.1? I'm sorry, we were off by a little bit.
let me go over and talk to Danny Ainge and see what he says.
Money's coming from him.
I'm very curious to watch. There's Jazzy Davidson's going to be on the women's select team. We're
Yes.
excited to watch
That'll
her.
be fun.
But I'm also excited to see some of these dudes in this game. There is a kid, and I'm forgetting his name, but he's going to Baylor. You can look him up when you look up the Hoop Summit. He looks and plays exactly like Anthony Edwards. Like, it's almost Dylan Raiola, Patrick Mahomes creepy.
Just looks identical to him.
Dresses exactly like him, has his number, moves exactly like him.
That's a little weird and uncomfortable.
That's how old Anthony Edwards is, by the way. That makes us feel old.
Kids now look up to him.
There's now a high school player that's trying to copy exactly how he plays.
How old is Anthony Edwards? Like 24 years old?
But I am curious, Dirt, because the Blazers draft odds are going to shake out after this weekend. This event usually lines up with, all right, that's the next group in next year's draft.
Yeah, who are we tanking for next year?
DeBanza would be the kid.
Is that who we're resetting the tank for?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
he is right now, according to every, draft, he might be Cooper Flag level.
He's the number 1 prodigy kid.
The number 1, dude, like from the U.S. He's going to go to BYU next year. So we'll see him for 1 season. But where are they going to be at the end of the weekend in the draft lottery? And what are we going to remember about this non-playoff season?
I think the answer to that question will all depend on what happens this offseason. If you end up with the luckiest ping pong ball bounce that you've had since Greg Oden in 2007.
I think it's a ping pong ball.
What did I say?
I think you called it a pawl.
A ping pong ball?
Yeah, you PPP.
A lot of P's. There's too many P's in there. I got a PPP loan.
It's okay. You don't have to pay it back.
Ping pong ball. If you end up with one of those lucky bounces like you did in 2007, it'll be the year that you just had will be like a chuckleback of like, man, that was really lucky. Finally, the balls bounce in our direction.
Mm-hmm.
If you end up slipping, if you end up drafting right where you're at, I have said this before and I will say it again. I think it will go down as one of the biggest missed opportunities in the history of the organization. A year where you have so many great young pieces, so many things to be proud of. We just got done doing a segment about Kamara and how he should be all defense.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen flashes from Sharp, although wildly inconsistent at times, and for some reason coming off the bench in his 3rd year in the NBA. He's shown you flashes of like, all right, there's a player there. Klingon has showed you flashes. Denny Avdia has looked like an all-NBA kind of guy in the last month and a half of the season. There are great little points that you can look at and say the future is bright, but the biggest missing ingredient is the thing that you cannot find. And if you end up drafting 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th in this summer's NBA draft, I don't think you're going to find that guy, and I think you're literally the same team next year, plus or minus 3 or 4 wins. Maybe you're right around 500. The only way out of this pathway was what they should have decided to do this year, and that was get rid of the vets, play all your young cats, and give yourself a top 5 odd to get one of the elite players in this draft. And so unless you get the luckiest break you've had in nearly 20 years, I will remember it as a massive missed opportunity.
So it's all about where the balls bounce.
All about where the balls bounce for me.
I was looking at the West last night because Minnesota was so good, and I'm just asking myself honestly, as a basketball fan who hopes Portland is relevant again.
Hey, Anthony Edwards, number 1 overall pick. Funny how that works.
He's pretty good. Phoenix, Memphis. I'm going to throw this team in there, and you're not going to agree, but Denver and Dallas are 4 very fascinating offseason teams.
Absolutely.
Phoenix might hire a Chauncey Billups, and they might trade a Kevin Durant, as Windhorst says yesterday, just to clear book stuff and not for actual maximum value. So we'll see what that is, because I don't know if I should trust Phoenix at all. Memphis, Ja didn't have a good year.
Nope.
He cannot shoot the basketball very well. I don't know where they're going, if it's going to be this Finnish coach or they're going to go somewhere else. Kind of question marks about Memphis. Denver's roster's not very good. It does have Jokic and it's got Murray when healthy. But are they trading Porter? What's their bench going to be? Are those Watsons and Browns going to continue to be good young players for them? Aaron Gordon's getting older, and Dallas is basically going to be without Kyrie all of next year.
Yeah.
He'll come out at the end of the year. They have Anthony Davis,
who is also unreliable health-wise.
And they've got an old Klay Thompson,
right.
And then, there's just a bunch of, role guys around that. So, there's 4 teams just right there in the West, and maybe you don't count Denver, and I don't blame you for that because it's Jokic, but still, they've been toying with the 8-seed stuff too. So there's 4 right there that if, I'm just curious to see what those off seasons are, paired with what happened in the draft lottery for the Blazers, paired with the question marks of what will they be, because no matter how people want to spin it, I largely think you're going to end up being right here. Kamara, I'll remember the development.
Yeah.
Denny, I'll remember he had a good season. Other than that, it's been very middle of the road, not good. And if they don't bounce their way, it's going to be oh man, are we going to look back and say that draft was so much better than the year prior to it?
You missed your opportunity to land the game changer.
Well, why did you care so much about trying to get Alex Sarr, but you didn't care as much about Cooper Flagg?
You were able to completely empty the tank out in the last couple of seasons in which the draft was not this. Wembanyama was different. That was a draft that we all knew. But this past year's draft, we all knew going in, not a lot of talent there. If you find a starter,
the number 1 pick is not going to be the rookie of the year, which isn't groundbreaking in that category.
Not a shocking thing.
But he's, how many games have people watched of Zachary Richardson?
Not a lot, Bob. Not a lot.
Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick in that draft. How many games you watch of Alex Sarr when they're not playing the Blazers?
Not a lot. I think we said if you just find a decent starter in that draft in the top 10, you had a successful draft.
The Spurs found Castle.
They did, good. And you're hoping the Klingon turns into that, right? Of hey, can he be a 10-10, a 12-12? Can you be that? Be a good defensive guy.
30 minutes a night.
30 minutes a night. Block a couple of shots. Have some putbacks. Never going to be a dominant offensive player, but play some defense, grab some rebounds. Then you feel like you got success in that draft. That's not this year's draft. This was the draft to hopefully go find a star, and it was the year to go find a star. And I think if you would have done that with all these other little tangible things around it, I know your odds you were never going to catch Utah, you were never going to catch Washington, and you were never going to catch Charlotte.
Sure.
With the year that Denny had, the year that Kamari had,
year.
But you were 5th last year, and that's not too much to ask. You're likely going to finish 9th. There's still an outside shot that you could finish 8th. The odds do jump massively from 9th to 8th, so let's all root for the San Antonio Spurs to win their games and the Blazers to lose their games.
If the Lakers lock up the 3 seed before Sunday,
they're playing nobody on Sunday.
They will play nobody.
The Warriors will play people tonight.
Yeah, because they have to play to stay in the 6.
So Sunday's game, it might end up coming down to Sunday's game, depending on, again, what happens with San Antonio in the final 2 games of the regular season.
To my knowledge, the Warriors are playing everybody. The funny thing is now, do the Warriors look at the standings and go, do we want to play LeBron and Luka, or do we want to play the Rockets?
Do you want to
even though the Rockets
risk
just
the play-in,
physically manhandled them in Golden State last week?
And I know they feel confident, but do you want to risk the play-in? Because you're in the play. If you're the 7th seed, you got to get to 7th seed.
You could be the 8th seed.
You could lose that game, one game. Somebody has an off night, and all of a sudden you're playing OKC in the first round. I think they're going to fight tonight.
Yeah,
and so tonight will be a loss
to the Spurs, who didn't play.
You're right.
Anybody.
They're going to play tonight.
Tonight will be an L. Sunday, that's the big caveat. And if you find a way to win that game, and the Spurs win too, and you would have had a chance for the 8th overall pick, ooh, buddy, somebody's not going to be in a good mood on Monday.
Mr. Angry Pants will be
I think
back.
Joe Cronin's going to be more upset than I would be. For the love of God, I would hope he would be more upset.
I would argue should be angry right now, given
Is it
where
Angry
they're
Pants or
currently
Grouchy Trousers?
Grouchy Trousers?
I think that's...
I'm cool with that.
I think if we were to give grouchy trousers, I picture more Joe Cronin wearing grouchy trousers.
I mean, I think the other
Dirt's angry pants.
angry pants.
Yeah.
I'm cool with angry pants. Either one, I'm fine with. What's going to happen with Chauncey? That whole thing too is still looming.
I think it's over.
I do too, but
I tend to lean in.
do you find out right after the game? Do they wait a week? How long do we wait
Again,
to announce that?
I
know
why
it's an
I'm
easy
fascinated
sell,
by
but it's
Sunday.
like, dude, their exit interviews are after the game Sunday, and Chauncey's going to be asked questions about
Chauncey's
this.
going to say, let's hold this for
I'm
Monday.
going to
okay?
work for Amazon after the season, or I'm going to go coach the Suns. Like, where
Wanna
am
go
I
deliver
going?
packages?
Yeah. Monday will be interesting.
Hold this for Monday. Let's see if this take ages poorly
Yes.
or perfectly. Okay? We'll play the game. Poorly or perfectly. Chauncey Billups, when asked about the future, man, I don't know. The season just ended. There's a lot that went into this season, a lot of growth, a lot of good things. So we'll talk, me and Joe, and we'll see what the future will hold. Let's see if that is basically what the answer is to the question.
Yeah,
a
pull that clip.
non-answer answer. What I just said, paraphrasing, is it going to basically be what Chauncey says when we replay it come Monday? Because Sunday night, we're going to have to pull audio for the show.
We will watch the exit interviews.
There's going to be the exit interviews. I will be tuned into that. And so I think that's the direction it goes, because it'd be really wild. Could be for the show, but it'd be really wild if they're like, we're parting ways. See you later. Thank you for everything.
Statement immediately after the game. He doesn't even do his exit interview. Like, don't bother, man. We all know you're not going to be back.
But I tend to think that he is gone, and I don't know where the lottery's going to end up, because that's happening in May. But those 4 teams, I mean, if you want some optimism, not that I need to sell it to you because you're not going to take it, but like if I was to sell you optimism, it is, what is Dallas next year without largely Kyrie?
Mm-hmm.
Denver's coaching and bench situation is fascinating. Memphis is like, what are they? And then Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix is going to trade Kevin. Like, Kevin Durant's going to be
gone
off the Suns, and not that he helped them all that much. He had a good year, but
no, if they were smart, they blow it all up. But we'll see what they end up doing.
but they don't appear to want to blow it all
No.
up. So what is Phoenix next year with an impatient owner who has not made good decisions?
Sure. You're not wrong in any of this. What I would add, though, is that you could have a couple of teams that slip behind you. Sacramento, the handful of teams you look at in the West, you're just like, I don't know what you're going to quite do next year. I still think, though, there's a ceiling on what you can accomplish. So you can improve. I wouldn't be shocked at all if you're in the play-in next year.
Would you be shocked if they were a playoff?
Yeah, I would. If you're top 6 in the West next year, I'd be genuinely shocked. But if you're in that 8, 9, 10 range and you're in a play-in situation, I mean, you're, again, literally in the spot that you don't want to be in. You're not good enough. You're not bad enough. You're right in no man's land again next year, and it'd be a bit of a disaster.
I just wanted to see. So Golden State is the 6th seed
Currently,
right
yes.
now. They're 47-33. The 10 seed is 38-42.
Yeah.
So, yeah, difference of
There's a big gap there.
about 9 games.
Big gap there. That's a 14-game jump to get into the top 6 likely next year.
Well, we'll see what happens with the exit interviews and the final couple games for your Portland Trail Blazers. And, for those going to the Nike Hoop Summit this weekend, you get to see the future stars that are going to be in the NBA. And for those that are going to the women's game, which I would highly promote, the WNBA and in college. A lot of stars out there.